For today, I'm going to be talking about TiVo. And the reason why I chose this company is because when growing up, we had a TiVo in my house. And so like I just remember that being such a big point in like my childhood, just like me and my siblings like recording our favorite shows and whatnot. Um, and I also found out that when they came up with this, like when the two people that founded the company like met to propose the idea, or like to come up with the idea. They met in like my hometown. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, anyways, so how it began. It was developed by Jim Barton and Mark Ramsey, and the idea behind TiVo came from the Orlando project, which was basically in 1994, Time Warner Incorporation um tried to have like they basically for a community of people in Orlando, they were gonna have the t televisions be able to be used to like email shop, choose movies, and so forth. But it was way too expensive and way too modern to be pulled off for that time. So it got shut down. But it sparked the idea between Barton and Ramsey in 1997 when they met up to create DVR. So they came up with the TiVo, which basically you can record any show. You can, if you're watching live TV, you're able to pause and like rewind or like go back to live. Um, and what makes TiVo unique as well is you can like choose to record like a whole season, like all the upcoming episodes or like repeats. It has a lot of customization in that sense. And so yeah, it was introduced to the market in 1999. When it comes to the traction of the success of the company, by 2004, so 5 years after the company launched, TiVo had only gathered 1.4 million subscribers, which is not that much considering the potential, I guess you could say. Like they were meant to have a lot more subscribers by that point, just because it was such a new idea and um a lot more practical than like the VCR like tapes that you can use. And then some competitive advantages to talk about is first, the first mover advantage, which gave TiVo the chance to dominate the markets, but they didn't quite find success, and I'll go into that later. But the second advantage is due to them being the first to implement the technology, the customers they did have were very loyal. Um, but I saw this quote from a media and entertainment analyst at the Yankee Group in Boston. He says, I can't think of any product that has had this satisfaction levels TiVo has had, but has been as sluggish in terms of the growth of the market. It's certainly unusual for a product to have this kind of enthusiasm from the community that's using it without being able to tip over and really become a mass market phenomenon. And like I showed before this, the traction, it kind of alludes to this too, but it just wasn't as fast growing as it should have been in order to really take over the market. And the third advantage is the subscription-based model. So um it causes obviously customers to to have a constant revenue. And most of the time when people are paying for a subscription, they tend to use it more. Um and then the fourth advantage is it gained the attention of a lot of celebrities and eventually became a household name. And this is also due to the fact that for the marketing, they used a lot of celebrities to endorse the product, which I will talk about next. So you can see that these are some of the shows and just TV features that TiVo had. It was on Friends. It was on The Sopranos. I don't even know how to say that. The Oprah Show and Oscars. There's a lot more, but these were kind of the main ones I found. And a big, I don't want to say scandal, but a thing where the Oscar or where TiVo got a lot of attention in the media was I forget which year it was, but I think maybe 2003 Oscars, it went like an hour and a half or 2 hours longer than it should have. And most people program their TV to only add like an hour after, because usually it does go longer. But it went 2 hours longer, so no one ended up seeing the best picture. It like cut off right before that, so it was big in the news the next day. Which honestly gave it TiVo a lot of media, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It gave it, I think they honestly saw it as a good thing because a lot of people maybe hadn't heard about it as much. And now we'll talk about why TiVo failed. So some of the problems. So although they had a first mover advantage, TiVo failed to keep up with the ever-changing market, causing them to lose their momentum and eventually leading to their downfall. The first problem was they did not market the product enough, and the marketing they did do was poorly done in the sense where they didn't really explain to customers how to use it or why they need it. And because it's like a new technology, that's, I feel like, really important to bring to light is why consumers should get the product. And then the second problem is they failed to license their technology before it was too late. So what that means is they basically it was really easy to replicate the DVR, and companies just did it and offered it cheaper. So TiVo wasn't really competitive in that sense. They weren't like lowering their prices or giving different options. Because TiVo did have more features they offered, but they didn't really like market those enough to where consumer was willing to pay that extra money for it. And they also failed to innovate. So when it comes to streaming services and stuff, they didn't really add that on until way later. And now people don't really watch cable TV or live TV anymore as much, at least, because streaming services have taken over and TiVo didn't really keep up with that. And then third problem was barrier of entry for consumers. So because it's a new device, it caused consumers to have to learn a new technology, which ended up being kind of like I explained earlier. They weren't really, a lot of the consumers weren't really seeing why they need the product and why they should change the way they do everything for this random product that marketed itself only through like basically celebrities and their ads. I'll show you in the next slide, I think, is when I pulled up some of the clips of old advertisements.
I got TiVo and I can watch whatever I want. I want to do whatever I want. I've never felt so empowered. I don't want a puppy. I want the tiger. I watch what I want. I do what I want. Hallelujah! Not everyone understands. I want the tiger. Then again, not everyone's got TiVo.
Learn more at TiVo.com.
What's the matter, Ronnie? Masculine itching? How'd you know? When I experience masculine itching, I reach for Extra Strength Itch Stopper Plus. How does it work? When your body heats up, Ronnie, enzymes mixed with bacteria can cause unsightly discomfort. Boy, howdy. But with just 2 fingers of the patented oily balm applied to the affected area, you...
The TiVo. And skip the stuff you don't want to see. Learn more at TiVo.com.
Okay, so that kind of showed how their products or their ads are pretty funny, but it kind of just it doesn't really explain the product enough in my opinion, and it very much just uses like celebrities or like humor and kind of randomness to get the consumer's attention, but it doesn't, because it's such a new product, I feel like it doesn't do a good enough job as to explain why someone needs it. And then another big problem was the privacy issues, which gained a lot of attention after the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, because it was Janet Jackson's, she like flashed the camera on accident, like it like showed some inappropriate stuff. They track user data, and that was like the most replayed moment in TiVo history. And so that kind of alarmed the public when they found out that they use that, and TiVo uses it for their own knowledge, like to, for their own research, but they also sell it to other companies, like advertising companies and such. And then problems with competition. The first one is when they expanded into the UK in 2000, it was shut down very quickly because the company producing it there stopped their production, and so they sold very few TiVos there, and it caused another company, Sky Plus, to take over the market there. And so it was kind of hard because TiVo had the first mover advantage. They could have like really taken over the market there, but they didn't really push hard enough, and stop production very, very soon after launching the product there. So it didn't really have the capability of becoming successful. And then obviously someone took over because that is bound to happen. And then the second reason is the technology was easy. I kind of touched on this earlier, but the technology was super easily replicated. So TiVo, although they were the first ones, which usually like customers tend to be more loyal if they were exposed to that product first, because they don't want to like have to, relearn another platform or device. But because TiVo was significantly more expensive than certain cable companies started making DVRs, so they were able to just make it a lot cheaper. And yeah, it didn't have the greatest features, but it offered enough. You could, record shows, replay and stuff like that. And, TiVo just didn't show their features enough, or their benefits, or why consumers should pay extra for those benefits enough to where it made them competitive. So the third reason is advertising companies actually started to like not want to do business with TiVo, mainly in the early years, or especially in the early years, because they were able to see that consumers or viewers were just skipping through the ad, so they didn't want to waste money if viewers aren't even going to see it, so they weren't really supporting TiVo. And then to wrap it up, TiVo's potential was there because they were obviously the first to infiltrate the market with the DVR, but they just used the wrong methods of marketing the product, in the sense that they used a lot of celebrities, as I said, like on Oprah Winfrey show, like they gave away a bunch of TiVos for her, like you get a TiVo, whatever. And Howard Stern talked about it on his radio show. Like they had a lot of people boasting about the TiVo and like why they should get it, but they didn't do enough of a job of explaining how the user should use it and why they should want it, which is extremely important when a product is new to the market and like there's nothing like it. Because I feel like the celebrity strategy works well if it's a product that's similar to something that's already out, or not similar, but like, yeah, something that's already released, like makeup or something. And then TiVo today, it was sold to Rovi actually for $1.1 billion, I think in 2016. And I looked on the TiVo website, and it does still sell like the DVR, or the the original TiVos, or not original, but upgraded versions. And like the most expensive one is basically kind of like the Roku. It like offers all the streaming services, and you can still record all your shows and whatnot. But because I just feel like there's already so many options out there that the TiVo's kind of already forgotten, and they don't really differentiate themselves enough to draw in new consumers. I think they probably still have like maybe the loyal customer base that had a TV in the early years, but I don't really see them drawing in a ton of new consumers because there's already so many bigger companies that continually innovate. But yeah, that is my presentation. Thank you for watching.